Hello and welcome to Sonder. My name is Maggie and I am a knitter, sewist, crafter, and new doctor here in Denver, Colorado. How is everyone? I am coming to you from a very snowy Denver. We did get a little bit of snow over the last couple of days and it's felt very cold and very winter-like, which I absolutely love. I really love the winter time. I think it's a beautiful season in which the world slows down a little bit and hunkers in and takes time to recognize beautiful things around our homes. And I find something so peaceful and so tranquil, about the falling snow. And I feel like the blanket of white and the fact that everything is dead to me kind of symbolizes this like clean slate. And yeah, it's been really, really beautiful and really peaceful. I say that I am a new doctor because I am a resident here at the University of Colorado. I am in the internal medicine and pediatrics residency here in Denver. And I talk about that because there are so many new people here, which is crazy. I was talking to my husband about how the internet that we have, this little platform where we get together and we talk with each other, is like the internet at its most beautiful. It's amazing. I just feel like I've made so many new friends over the last couple of weeks, and friends from all over the place, from, you know, in the United States here to England and Korea. It's just been incredible. So thank you for coming here and joining me for a little bit of crafty talk. I generally start by just talking about what's going on in my life this week, because this really is a journal for me to reflect on what's going on in my life and, you know, how I'm doing, and something I can look back on and think about this time. Right now I am drinking some ginger, turmeric, lemon tea that I have. That was a recipe from my mother-in-law. So I've been carrying that around in the hospital with me, and usually I actually put the little pieces of turmeric and ginger in the bottom of my water bottle so that I can fill it up throughout the day. And everyone looks at me like, are there carrots in your water? Like, what's going on? Because the turmeric really does look like a carrot, but it's turmeric. And I've generally been drinking a lot of turmeric lately because it's really good for immunity and to boost your immunity. I'm not an expert on like herbalism, but that's what I hear. And it tastes delicious, so why not? And it's actually in this mug. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it says, "Excuse me, I am speaking," which is a direct quote from Kamala Harris during the debates. So, you know, the world is looking up a little bit, even though it's still incredibly hard. I am right now in a newer rotation, kind of right in the middle of a rotation at the Well Baby Nursery, which has been incredible. As a pediatrician at the Well Baby Nursery, we essentially go to the deliveries in which they are a little bit concerned and think they might need a pediatrician there to help the baby. And we also get to do the first exams of babies and say happy birthday. And it's a really special time to be in these families' lives who their world is changing so much. And it's a real pleasure to be able to be there in a very small way for that. And it's so fun to go to deliveries. I am really happy to not be the one actually delivering the child, but love when I get to walk in and see a baby be born and say, stay with mom because baby looks great. Or if baby needs a little bit of help, I love being able to take them over to the warmer and kind of get them going and say happy birthday. And, you know, sometimes you get vomited on, sometimes you get peed on, but it's little newborn baby pee and vomit, and it just feels, I don't know, it's so cute. They look like little aliens. Like, newborn babies are so funny because I feel like every time I see one, I'm like, oh my gosh, like your head is all molded and like you have been through a change, but look at you, you know, like they're so cute. It's so fun. So it's been great. I think the one hard thing is every 5 days we spend the night in the NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit. And that is a unit where babies go who need a little bit of extra help and who are a little bit sicker. Generally they're babies who have health problems that we already know about, or who were premature or things like that. And every 5 days, we do a 24-hour shift in which we stay overnight at the hospital and help take care of the babies in both the Well Baby Nursery and the NICU. And that was the day before yesterday, and I feel like I'm still in a fog. I've worked a lot, like I've worked several months now of call, but every time it's like the first week, I feel like my brain just is like trying to focus on what's going on and why it's happening. But anyway, it's been a good week. I think, you know, last week I was talking about how I was really trying to do a little bit more yoga. And I've realized that when I came back to Denver, that I have not been incorporating yoga as frequently as I would like. And so my goal for this week is to do yoga 3 times. 3 times, and that's it. And I think that that will really help me to focus on continuing to exercise and continuing to move my body even when I'm tired. So yeah, I'll put that out to you guys. That is my goal for this week, 3 days of yoga. And it might be all yin yoga, I don't know. I'll just wait and see. But I've been yammering on for 7 minutes, and so I am going to start talking about books and crafts, because that's why everyone's here. I will start by talking about what I'm wearing. So this is the Lydia 2.0 tank by Courtney Little, and I'm also wearing my Felix cardigan by Amy Christoffers, and this is knit out of Peace Fleece, which is this really beautiful mixture of Navajo wool and mohair. And after blocking, oh my gosh, I mean, it is totally fine to be next to skin for me. I do have like a pretty high tolerance for it, but I don't know if you can see the beautiful halo that gets made with the mohair. It's delightful. So yeah, I have been doing, first I was like, I feel like I haven't done any knitting because I've just been working a lot, but then I realized that I actually have a lot to talk about. So here we go. These are all things that you have seen. I do have one new cast on and no finished objects. Ooh, but I do have a half finished object, a hoe, half object? I don't know. So this is my slightly modified Midnight Dancer sock by Sari Nordlund. And this is knit out of Lambstrings wool in their October 31st colorway from the Advent, like October Advent calendar that I got this year. And then I also put in a couple of minis from the same Advent calendar. I loved this. I knitted to pattern. I did put a little bit of extra color in here and then did a heel flap and gusset, a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And I decided to just put a little bit of extra rib in the gusset section. And my thought process behind this was that it would give a little bit of extra stretch in the gusset, which is definitely the widest part of my foot. And I love the fit of this sock. And yeah, other than that, I just continued knitting and then did a wedge toe and Kitchener stitch. So I can try to put this on for you. I have not cast on the second sock. I am just, you know, diligently working away. Socks, like I said, are something that I generally work on at work and things like that. So this is what the sock looks like. Isn't it great? I love this ruffle. I really, really love it. Kat from the Heather and Hops podcast, she has a sock pattern that has a ruffle on it, and the ruffle is in mohair, and I really want to knit it. I'm really excited about that because I have so much like little bits and bobs of mohair, and I just think it would look so cute to have that, and the ruffle is a little bit bigger than that. So yeah, and I think that the pattern, I'll put information about the pattern down below, but I think the pattern is like all the way from like little baby socks, and I just have this vision of having matching socks with my niece, and it needs to happen. It like 100% needs to happen. I just need to like get my act together and probably cast off the other 2 socks that I'm working on. The only other sock that I've been working on, oh, I have already talked about this. I didn't work on these socks at all this week. So yeah, stay tuned for these coming back next week. Those are all the socks that I have been working on. And so I'll move on to the sweaters. Okay, so I have a question for you guys about this sweater. This is the Nordiska by Caitlin Hunter, and it is being knit out of 2 different yarn dyers. One is Fiber for the People, and this is in her Polworth base, and this is the leather colorway, and then Harbor, which is this really beautiful kind of super variegated, super speckled, dirty sage green that you see here. And then just a couple of minis from my advent calendar from Lambstrings. So you can see that I, in the last episode, had already finished the body, and I'll try to give you a little close up. I think this will look much better once it is blocked, but I love it. It's like lower contrast than I anticipated, but I'm here for it. I just think it's so amazing. And then I knit and, or I picked up and knit the sleeve. I knit for about 6 inches and then switched to the color work. And I really, really love it. It's gonna be like a 3/4 inch or a 3/4 length sleeve. And it's a little bit hard to see the color work, but I really, really, really like it. So, my question for you, I have this much of the leather left, which I haven't weighed it, but it is not that much. I decided to just like keep knitting and see what happens. And I'm really worried because I have to both knit the second sleeve as well as the collar, the neckband. So I have a couple of different options. One is that I could use this to knit the sleeve, and then I could pick up the collar with the Harbor. And so just around the neck is Harbor. I think that that is a really great option because it would allow this to be a little bit more of a central player. It would bring in the bottom of the sweater to the top of the sweater. However, I do really like the fact that this sweater, the neckband is in the main color of the sweater. I think it just makes it look really professional and really finished. And I wonder, and I also think that it hides like a multitude of sins where if I picked up the collar with this, I would be a little bit worried that you would be able to see all of my little imperfections with picking up stitches, which for me is the hardest part of knitting, is going in and picking up like neck bands and button bands and things like that. So that's the first option, is knitting the second sleeve and then having the harbor be the neckband, which I think could be really great, but this is, I'm feeling like I'm too in it and I'm not sure. The second option is that Taylor from Fiber for the People, she does allow you to buy her signature solids like one skein at a time. So she generally has the option to buy like a whole sweater's quantity, but from what I understand on her website is that you can also buy just like a single skein of her signature solids, which is what leather is. Now, obviously, I know that the dye lots will be different, and so the yarn will probably look slightly different if I decide to go this route, but the other option that I have is to just buy another skein of the yarn and hope for the best. I think too that if it is slightly different and I put it into the sleeve, then it won't bother me that much because it's art. It's this beautiful handmade thing, and if it's a little off, like, it's art. And that is fine. In which case, I think what I would do is use this to knit the neckband and then just knit as much as I can down the second sleeve and then wait for the 4 to 6 weeks or however long it takes to get a custom order from Fiber for the People. So those are my two options. Should I either just commit to knitting the neckband in the harbor or knit the neckband in this and knit as far as I can down the sleeve and order another skein of this if I need to? What to do here? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, help! But I really love it. It has been such a fun thing to knit on. I really love color work because I feel that it is so relaxing and also just really fun to see your progress, and just makes you want to like knit because you can just see the beautiful pattern coming to life. And I think that you'll be able to see this even better once I block it out, but I'm so excited. I think I'm gonna wear this all the time. Anyway, I'm thrilled. The next sweater that I had been knitting on is again the Kess Cardigan by Meri Tanaka. I love it. I really love it. So I'm knitting this out of WZ Felt and Yarn, which is High Mountain Wool of Routt County, which is the county that I grew up in. And it's this beautiful, naturally variegated skein of like gray brown yarn, and it's rustic but soft and super squishy, and I love it. There's something so special about knitting. I say this on every podcast, but there's something so special about knitting with yarn from where you grew up. And yeah, I'm obsessed with this. And I think that's part of the reason why I've knit this like all over colorwork cardigan so quickly. I'm not done, but getting there. So last time I talked to you, I had finished the sides. So this is knit in pieces and then seamed together. My understanding is that it's just the bottom up to the underarms you knit in pieces, and then the whole yoke you knit together, which is kind of great because I feel like that is probably where things would go awry when I am seaming. And I feel like the seams on the bottom, like if it's off a little, like who gives a shit, you know? So anyway, these are the front panels. And I have been finished with these for about a week and a half. And then I did finish the entire back panel. So let me show this to you. Oh my gosh, so amazing. Get a little closer so you can see some of the beautiful details. I've really loved knitting this because while it is a complicated cable, the cable repeats itself. And so now I'm to the point where I do not need to look at the chart at all. I can just knit, 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 and know exactly where things are supposed to happen. So I've finished the two fronts and the back, and now I'm just working on the sleeve. So this is the first sleeve. And you can see I'm doing a tubular cast on, just knitting away. I did change the pattern a little bit. So the way that this is written, the sleeve cuff is about twice as big as I wanted it to be. And I looked at this, and this is knit at the same gauge. And what I realized is that this sweater is a little bit bigger than I generally want my cuffs. It works fine for this sweater because it is a full length sleeve, but I prefer kind of princess sleeves. So I don't like my sleeves to be here because I'm a doctor and like gross. Like if I ever wanted to wear this at work, I would be like disgusted if it was like all the way there. But anyway, I'm just a messy human being, okay? Like some people can have their sleeves down to here and like not have it be completely full of food and dirt and dust, but I'm messier than that. So I like the princess sleeve. I like it to be out of the way of my hands. And so I realized that this was going to be too big because this was meant to be like 20 stitches bigger than this. And so the cuff, I actually cast it on and knit the whole cuff, and I wrapped it around my arm, and it looked like it was huge. It was like a full couple of inches bigger than my wrist. And I have like small wrists, and it just was not gonna work. And so I had this moment where I was like, what am I gonna do? And you know what? One of the greatest things about making your own clothes is that you can change it. It's amazing. So what I did is I knit the cuff with the same stitch count as this sweater, which I think is 34 stitches. And then I want it to be, because I want it to be slightly tighter than this. And I know that when I sew this together, I'll lose a couple stitches worth of distance. And so I think it will work perfectly. So then after the cuff, I just rapidly increased to the stitch count that was originally called for in the pattern. And so I think that I will just have this amazing balloon sleeve. So it will be tight and then go out and then sort of increase out to this beautiful sleeve. So yeah, that is the only alteration that I've done on this entire pattern so far. It is beautifully written. I love it. And I'm really enjoying knitting on it. It's just been really relaxing because it's something that you have to focus on, but is not like terribly complicated once you get used to the stitches. So yeah, I just have one more sleeve and then I'll join everything and be able to move on to the yoke, which I think will go super fast. And the next sleeve is exactly like this one. So I am so excited with this. I think that it is something, because it's gray, that I will wear forever. And just look how big this, like, this is a huge cake. It's so squishy. I mean, look at this squish factor. I'm obsessed. So yeah, those are the two sweaters that I am knitting on. Let me just put this away. This is in probably my favorite bag of all time. It's the Nordlund Meri in their Craftivism bag. I had to log on like right when it was being uploaded because they sell out in like seconds, but it was worth it. So yeah. The last thing that I am working on is the Birch Creek Bandana by Rachel Reese, I believe. And this I'm knitting out of two different yarns. One is the Fiberstory Silky, the One Silky in their gilded colorway, which is this beautiful mix between silk and merino wool, and it glows. I swear it is gorgeous. And gilded is like literally the perfect description. I mean, it's just the most perfect, beautiful gold color. And then I'm also knitting out of Fiber for the People in their Sari base in the, I think this was called Iron Sides colorway. I bought this a while ago for a different project and am now incorporating these together to make the Birch Creek bandana, which is a really beautiful and simple square shaped shawl. I'll try to put a picture up. And I just cast it on. So the cast on is kind of a whole thing because it is a really beautiful, what is this called? I don't remember, but it's the type of cast on where it's kind of looks like several stitches that have rolled, an I-cord. It's an I-cord cast on, Maggie, get it together. And yeah, this is a really, really beautiful shawl or bandana neck garment, so to speak, that I think I will wear all the time because it is brown and gold and will go with literally everything in my wardrobe. So essentially what it is it is a square with an I-cord around the edge, and then it alternates between this beautiful garter stitch and brioche. And I think that this would be a great starter project if you want to try brioche, because it just has a few 2-color brioche stitches throughout the bandana that will continue through the whole bandana. So it is so soft. I think I'm gonna wear it so much, and it's just so fluffy. I'll show you the other side as well. This is kind of the wrong side. So you can see the brioche on this side is the Sari, which is a little bit more challenging to see. And then the brioche on this side is the gilded. I love this. This is also really comforting. Once you've cast on, you're just going and it's easy peasy pumpkin squeezy. It just feels so good. I have been really enjoying comfort knitting right now. I think the world is a crazy place. Everyone is dealing with so much, and sometimes it's nice to just have a project that's simple and beautiful and with gorgeous yarn, and you can kind of connect to the craft in a slower and more deliberate way. So this is in one of my favorite bags, which is the Fat Squirrel. It's a Fat Squirrel bag, and it's her cats and housecoats bag. And when she presented this on her podcast, she called it like fashion goals, which like, yes, fashion goals, 100%. So those are all the projects that I have been working on this week. I do have a little acquisition that I wanted to talk about, a knitting project that I'm really excited about. So Peace Fleece right now, they are donating 20% of their proceeds to a COVID fund that help people in I think 2 different tribes here in the United States. For those of you who don't know, COVID has hit people of color much harder than the rest of the population here in the United States. And so that's something that I really can get behind. There's so much to be said about health disparities in America, and I won't get into it all right now, but we need to help each other. And this is one small way among many others that I feel that I can contribute at least a little bit. So they're donating 25% of their proceeds. And so I thought, why not buy some more yarn? This is some of my favorite yarn I've ever knit with. It's so, so beautifully rustic. I really love the different pops of color that they have, and it's something that I think is just going to be incredibly hard wearing. So I finished knitting this sweater about a month ago, and I swear I have worn it every single day since then, and there's no pilling at all. Like, it looks brand new. I'm obsessed. I feel like I'm probably going to knit all of the sweaters out of Peace Fleece going forward. It's incredible. So I got a huge sweaters quantity, like 10 skeins of their Peace Fleece worsted. So they have it in DK and in worsted. in the wild mustard colorway. So this is this beautiful kind of mustard yellow that has little pops of green and orange, and oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. I'm obsessed with this, like legitimately obsessed. And I'm going to knit this beautiful coat that was made by Emily Green, and it's one of the Brooklyn tweed patterns. I don't remember what the jacket is called, but I will put a picture up, and it's a really long cabled jacket. So I wanted to go like past my bottom. And it's, I think, a beautiful, super cabled cardigan that is knit in pieces, and being worsted weight, I think that it will go actually pretty quickly. So that is something that I am really itching to cast on. I think it's a beautiful color and something that I would wear all the time, because it's essentially like wearing the most beautiful blanket you've ever seen in your life. So, I mean, just look at the color of this. I like cannot even. It's so beautiful. It's even better than I thought it was gonna be when it came. And honestly, Piece Fleece is a very affordable option. So like for a 100-gram skein, I think it's only like $16 a skein, which is about half as much as like Brooklyn tweed. So it's a really, really beautiful fleece. It's a really beautiful organization, and yeah, I'm obsessed. I would say, I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but if you can't do rustic yarn, this is not the yarn for you, because it's probably the most rustic yarn that I have in my stash. But again, once it's blocked, it really softens up, and I can wear it next to skin without any issues. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to cast this on. I think that it would be like the perfect thing to knit in February. And so I'm thinking that once I've cast off the sweaters that I'm working on right now, at least one of them, probably the Kess cardigan, because I don't know if I want to do 2 cabled knit in pieces cardigans at once, then I think this will be the next thing that I cast on. So that is all for the crafty chat. Do you like the suspense that I put in there because I took a sip right in the middle of my thought? Just, you know, continuing the tradition of being as awkward as possible on the internet. So that is all the crafting talk that I have today. For anyone who wants to stick around for some bookish talk, I have read a couple of books recently and I really loved them. That's a lie. One book I did really enjoy, one book I'm still reading, and one book I did not enjoy. So let's start with the book that I did enjoy. So one of the books that I read this week is The Whisper Man. I'm forgetting the author's name, but I'll put a picture up. This is a thriller horror novel about a serial killer who kidnaps children and about the people who are trying to find this man. It has multiple points of view and was really scary and disturbing because it's horror, but was also just a fascinating, fast-paced thriller novel that I really, really enjoyed. So I highly, highly recommend The Whisper Man, but only if you are pretty thick-skinned. So again, I've kind of been reading a lot of horror recently. Shani just came in from the gym. How was it?
It was good.
It was good? Great. This is quarantine. I've gotten used to just like talking in front of him because, you know, there's no more awkwardness here. But anyhow, The Whisper Man is a horror book that I would only go into after looking up all of the triggers. So I think I've talked about this before, that horror in general has a lot of triggers and is something that you should be, in my opinion, fully aware of before you go in, because I would hate to have someone be traumatized by reading a book. Like for me, reading is something that I can get lost in and be transported to a different world in, and that's why I find it so beautiful and so relaxing. But that would not be relaxing if it further traumatized a very traumatized world right now. I like horror. I like many different genres of books, but horror I feel like is the one I have to defend the most because I feel like most people really don't like horror. And for me, I do like horror because I think like reading about a world that's more fucked up than my world makes me feel a little bit better about what's happening to me, which me and my therapist will probably dissect that further during our sessions, but you know, it's enjoyable for me. I like to be scared. I grew up with older siblings that made me watch horror movies from a very young age, and so getting a little scared is something that I really enjoy. The next book I read was awful. I read The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer because look at this cover. It looks incredible. The Female Persuasion, I was like, don't even tell me anymore. This has got to be about like a feminist. And there's like on the back, it was like a story about a woman who's kind of taken under the wing of like a very famous feminist. In my brain, I was like, is there going to be some like beautiful lesbian romance or at least like a beautiful female friendship? And it was like none of those things. It was awful. The only reason why I was able to read this whole book, which is like 450 pages, is because first I started reading it, then I started listening to it on Libby, and then I usually listened to books on tape at like 1.5 to 2 times speed, depending on the narrator and how much I'm enjoying the story. This one I was listening to a full like 3 times speed because I literally got to the point where I was like, oh, this isn't going to get better, but I'm already halfway through, so I might as well just like spend a little extra time like busting through it. So I gave this like 1 to 2 stars. Like it's not absolute garbage, but it's not like much better than that. And if this is your favorite book, like you can come for me, I can take it. But I just like, there's so many good books to read in the world. And I feel like if this is on your TBR, you should just like take it off because there's like very little redeeming qualities in this. Like my favorite character, who is Corey, and his little brother are really like side characters. And I wanted more about them and their lives. And it just, I feel like it had too many things that it was trying to accomplish and then didn't do any of them well. And so what I would have said to Meg Wolitzer when she gave me this book, if I were her editor, is that she should eliminate like 15 different things and like just choose a couple to focus on, because it was like all over the place in a way that was like really not enjoyable. And also like Greer and like Faith, the 2 main characters, were both like horrible people who I didn't like and who are like, in my opinion, like bad feminists. There was a lot of like female on female crime and it was terrible. I feel really bad because in general, I don't like to give bad reviews, but if you want to read a book about feminism or about female friendship, this is like the last book in the world that you should pick up. I would say like, there are so many books on my bookshelf that are so much better than this that it's just like, go away. I will definitely be donating this or something, but it's not going to be staying on my bookshelf because it was awful. I wish I would never have bought it. It was awful. Anyway, sorry. And then the last book I have to talk about, I'm still about halfway through. This week was a little bit of a challenge for me, just from the perspective of working a lot and working overnight. Sometimes it's hard for me to read with my eyes when I'm really, really tired. And so I have not finished this book yet, which is a travesty because I'm absolutely obsessed. I'm still about halfway through, so I really didn't read this at all this week. But it's nothing to do with the book itself. This is a wonderful novel that I'm really enjoying. And in fact, if you want to read a novel about feminism, then read Outlawed by Anna North. This is a beautiful Wild West novel that follows a band of misfits who are all From what I can see, they're all either women or non-binary folks, and it takes place in the 1800s in the Wild West, and it's about this gang of outlaws trying to make a better world for themselves and for everyone else. It's incredible. I really love it. So I am actually going to do a little bit of yoga this afternoon and finish this book. This is on the docket for today because I really want to know how it ends and get lost in this world of the Wild West. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that the world is treating you well. I hope that you're able to find little bits of joy in your life this week, and just remember to take care of each other because this is a really, really hard time for a lot of people, and we're living through a kind of collective trauma. So take care of yourself, take care of others, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
This 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy, but it's for my size, Roll on, buddy, don't you roll too slow. How can I roll when the wheels don't go? I'm going to the mountain just to see my baby, and I ain't coming back. No, I ain't coming back. Roll on, buddy, don't you roll so slow. How can I roll when the wheels don't go? When I go back Baltimore, ain't got no carpet on my floor. You come along, you follow me, we'll go down to Galilee. Howin', green, green, rocky road. You promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. See that bird up in the sky, he don't walk, he just fly, he don't walk, he just run, keep on flapping to the sun. Howlin', green, green, rocky road, promenade green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love.